Hi everyone, my name is Moni.
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
And today we are going to be previewing an expansion for a deck building game called Ruthless.
Yes, Ruthless came out in 2018, designed by Roland MacDonald and published by Roland's Revenge Games. And they are now doing a pre-order for the Tall Tales expansion, where you can also pick up Ruthless, the base game. From what we understand, this is a limited supply. There's only going to be about 400 copies, so we figured we'd let you know about it.
So we will tell you about the pseudo campaign a little bit later. It is not coming to Kickstarter. But if you're not familiar with Roland MacDonald is an illustrator primarily, and you've seen his artwork on
Undaunted, Stop Thief, Ruthless, of course, and a handful of other games. Battle Line he's done, so quite a few different games in the industry.
And so this is a game that he has designed. It's primarily deck building, but has some player interaction, has a little bit of a poker flair to it. And so today we're going to do a general overview of how the base game plays and then discuss the new things that are coming in the expansion.
We will also include timestamps down below if you'd like to jump around. And if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please consider subscribing.
And with that, we are ready to begin. So if you please direct your attention to the center of the table, we are all set up here for a two-player game of Ruthless, the base game. And so as you can see, there are some pirates in our midst, but just to kind of give you a general overview of how the base game is played, we're playing as different pirates who are trying to earn the most notoriety points by the end of the game. And so a game is typically played over the course of 5 rounds, 6 rounds if it is a 2-player game. And the general gist of how the game is played is each player has a deck, a starting deck of cards. And the cards are going to consist of either doubloon cards or these powder monkeys. And at the start of each round, each player deals a hand of 5 cards to use for the round. And so on your turn, you're going to start by doing a mandatory command action. And a command action can be one of 4 different things. You can either turn in loot from your hand, as many of them as you want, 4 doubloons. And so you would discard these and take the doubloons from the supply. Or you can turn in a certain combination of your powder monkeys. You can either turn 1 in to either brawl or bury, and brawling essentially lets you remove one of the cards from the pirate offering over here in order to replace with a different one. Or you can bury the card by basically trashing it out of the game. You put it underneath your parlay token, which we'll talk about in a second, and it is now out of your deck for the rest of the game. Alternatively, if you have more than 1 powder monkey in your hand, you can turn in 2 of them in order to plunder. And plundering has to do with this treasure deck over here. You draw the topmost card, and at the bottom here, it either tells you what you get if you decide to sell this card, which is basically just discarding it and getting the benefits on the left here, or you can keep the card in your discard so that it can get continuously shuffled into your hand. And each time you do draw the card, you get the bottom right-hand corner benefit. You just don't get to take it immediately. The 4th type of command is a board action, and that has to do with the different pirates that you'll see on the board that you can acquire. At the start of the game, we don't have any of these, so it's not possible to take that kind of action. Once you're done taking your command action, then you can optionally purchase a new card from the tavern row. And so the cost of the card is at the bottom left-hand corner. So say I were to turn in 2 of my doubloons over here to purchase this card right here. Then they go into your new recruit section. You only have space for 3 new recruits. So each round you can only hire up to 3 maximum pirate cards. And these pirate cards are sort of the main purpose of the game. What you're trying to do is you're trying to acquire pirate cards that fit into certain poker hands. And so that is why at the top left-hand corner of each card, you'll see a certain number and a suit. Some cards, like these parrot cards, have a specific suit attached to them, but they let you choose the number when they're played in front of you. And in addition, whenever you hire one of these pirates, at the very bottom of the card here, it also gives you a specific benefit. And so once you've taken 1 command action and hired optionally a recruit here, then the turn passes to your opponent. And your opponent will do the same thing. You don't draw up your hand like in standard deck builders. The cards that you have in your hand are pretty much the cards that you're going to play for that round. Once all players have run out of cards, then everybody gets to do 1 more optional recruit action as long as they still have space available in their new recruit section. And then you kind of go to battle. Assuming we both had enough money to do this, the end of the first round might look something like this. We would now look at the cards that are still in front of us and see what kind of poker hands we were able to create.
Yeah, we're going to compare the strength of my crew versus Monique's crew.
Yes, and so for Naveen's example, would you like to go first? Sure.
Okay, so like we said in the intro, we are trying to construct poker hands. So the least strength kind of hand you could have is at a single pair. And so what I would look at here is I have this parrot with the heart symbol, and then I have this 2 here. I have a 5 with the crossing swords. You can never duplicate an exact same card. So I cannot say that this is a 2 to make a pair of 2 2s because that 2 is in play here. But I can say that this represents a 5 of this symbol, so now I have a pair of 5s.
Yes, and if we consult our handy-dandy player aid here, a pair is a strength of 4.
Right.
So now Naveen is battling with a strength of 4. And I have a 3, 4, and then I can turn this into any number I want to because none of these are that same suit.
Right.
So I can say that this is a 5, let's just say. And so now I have a 3, 4, 5, which is technically a 3-card straight. And so for a straight, it is a strength of 6. Had we made a flush, that would be a strength of 8. A straight flush would be a strength of 12. But in this situation, my hand would technically win. Each round, we have a stack of tokens here that are worth a certain number of points. Whoever had the higher strength gets the higher number of points, and so on and so forth. During the first 2 rounds, you only have to qualify because they are the same number of notoriety points. But starting with the 3rd round onwards, then you're competing for different numbers of points.
Yeah, the first 2 rounds are basically building up your deck and really trying to get your hand so that you can push into those later rounds and have more interesting poker hands.
Yes, exactly. And then all of these cards get discarded. And so now the further and further you get into the game, the higher the likelihood of you drawing the captain cards or the pirate cards, sorry, that you had purchased from the tavern row. Whenever these come into your hand, then when you take a command action, instead of using the powder monkeys or turning in your doubloons, you can take what's called a board action. And that's playing one of these pirate cards from your hand into your active ship area and taking the bottom action that you had taken initially when you first hired the pirate. This also means that the more you acquire pirate cards, they're still going to continue to go into those 3 slots above your play area for new recruits. And any pirate cards that you play from your hand into your ship area do not get discarded, unlike your powder monkeys and your doubloon cards. And so at the end of the round, when we analyze the strength of our crew, we are not only analyzing the new hires, we are also including the pirate cards that we played for the round.
Exactly.
So this allows us to make stronger and stronger combinations of poker hands. And you can have multiple types of poker hands as long as each card is only being used for one.
Yeah, so if you have a hand of 5 cards, you could have 2 pirates as a pair and the other 3 as maybe a straight or a flush.
Exactly. And all of those strengths just get added together for one, large number, essentially, that you're fighting with.
And going back to assessing strength, you can actually add on to the strength value of particular types of hands. So in the previous example, I had the question mark in this 5. If I had this 5 also with it, in this particular case, any extra card that's added to a pair is an extra 6 points. So my total here would be 4 for the first part of the pair because it's 3 of a kind, an extra 6. So this would be a strength total of 10. So if it was like this, my 10 to Monique's straight, which would only be 6, I would get the higher prize.
Yes, exactly. So there's a lot of different comboing and, just trying to find combinations of cards that'll get you the highest strength amount for those battles. And these pirate cards have a wide range of different types of abilities that they can grant you. Some of them just get you additional doubloons. Some allow you to bury additional cards. Some allow you to attack other players, which basically means I would tell Naveen that you must discard either a doubloon or a card from your hand, your choice.
My choice, yeah.
So there's some player interaction in that regard.
Right.
And the last thing is in the middle here, we have these they're legendary achievements, and they basically just show you endgame scoring conditions that are awarded to the player who has achieved it the best, I suppose.
So this is set up in a 2-player game. In a higher player count, you would actually flip this over, and there's awards for coming in second.
This card, for example, is just whoever has the most loot value in your entire deck, and that's including your starting loot as well as the loot from the treasure deck that you happen to pull.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it. That is how you play Ruthless, the base game.
So the expansion is called Ruthless Tall Tales. It's a modular expansion with, I believe, 6 different modules. There's also some updates to the rule set, so we're going to go over it.
The updates to the rule set are fairly simple. Usually, the first player just kind of rotates. In the new expansion, whoever has the lowest strength at the end of a round gets first player, which I think is good. That's a lot more balanced.
Good. Yeah, exactly.
In addition, the first 2 modules are just extra treasure cards and 3 new suits. And the merfolk suits are interesting because they have dual numbers on them. The other 4 modules are new content. And so the first module is the chests and the quests module. You're going to be playing with 2 of these cards, and each card has 3 different quests. And each quest is going to have a treasure chest assigned to it, which has a certain number of points on the backside. as well as a specific ability that you can do. And so whoever is the first to meet whatever the quest is gets the chest. At the end of the game, it's going to be worth that many notoriety points, or they can use as a bonus action, they can discard this chest in order to take its ability. So that is a pretty straightforward module that you can incorporate into the base game. And so with the Heroes and Heroine expansion, there are 5 different cards that represent kind of like legendary figures in history or in fiction. I suppose we have Blackbeard, we have Anne Bonny. You lay out a certain number of these depending on the number of players. It's number of players plus 1. They are used as standard pirate cards. They have abilities at the bottom. You can shuffle them into your deck. But what they primarily do is you don't use the number in the top left-hand corner to contribute towards a poker hand. They just give you additional strength once you've already created a poker hand. So for example, Anne Bonny gets you 3 additional strength when used. But again, you have to have already formed a poker hand in order to utilize the card. Now, in order to acquire one of these cards, you have to spend 2 chests. And so that is why you need to use this module in conjunction with this one.
Right, exactly.
Now, the last 2 modules are also sort of similar, but also kind of opposite. They are Enter the Kraken, which has to do with the Kraken cards, the tentacle cards, as well as the Cursed.
Curse cards.
And so the way that it works is you're going to shuffle a certain number of the Kraken cards into the deck, depending on number of players, and they're going to come out into the Tavern Row, just like some of these pirates. So say it looks like this. Then now with this module, you're going to be dealing with 2 separate rows. You're going to have the Tavern Row and now the Threat Row. With these tentacle cards, you can either choose to attack them or to brawl with them. If you brawl a tentacle card, then it just gets moved to one of the available spaces in the Threat Row, and you get to use the benefit of the tentacle card, which in this case would be drawing the top card from my draw deck, so that now I have additional cards to play for the round.
Yep, deck builder.
If I choose to attack, then the tentacle card goes into my ship area as a played card, not as a new recruit, which is nice. I also get to take its power, and at the end of the round, when I am forming my raiding party, it's going to give me +2 to my strength. After that, this gets discarded just like the rest of my cards, and now it can get shuffled into my hand for me to play in the future.
And again, this is +2 to at least a pair. You cannot just have only this tentacle card and saying, okay, I have a strength value of 2.
That's right. On the opposite side, we have the Cursed cards. And so the Cursed cards also get shuffled in to the deck, just like the tentacle cards do. But the difference is when you attack a Cursed card, this card does not go into your ship area, thankfully, because it's bad. Instead, you get to take the power, you get to resolve the power at the bottom of the card, and then you give the card to an opponent. And so now they have -2 strength to their rating strength.
As the opponent, I can then go ahead and attack this and then pass it back to a different opponent. So in a higher player count, maybe I don't want to attack Monique. But when I do that, I do not get the benefit that you see at the bottom here.
Yes, but it is a way for you to get rid of that card out of your deck. You cannot bury these cards, so they do become sort of like a hot potato.
Yeah, they stick around.
And that is pretty much it. That is a general overview of what the new expansion comes with, as well as the base game. We did not go into specifics. There are a variety of different powers and abilities that you can be using whenever you hire pirate cards. The gameplay is simple, it is straightforward, but there is some depth in terms of your decision making, because you are still trying to curate your deck, even though you're not playing it as a standard deck builder where you get to discard and redraw and constantly kind of go through during a round. And so if you like the base game, I think that the expansion is kind of a no-brainer, because it does add more layers and more elements to your strategy and your decision making.
I appreciate the fact that it's modular. I always like when you can put in kind of what you want and you can kind of tailor your game. We kind of talked about there are 3 new suits because the different suits kind of act in a different way. And so it's interesting because now you can actually curate the type of game that you're going to play by switching out some of the base suits and then putting in some of these new expansion ones. And so like we were mentioning, this is going to be a pre-order that is on the website that's in the link down below. There's all the information that you want to know about there, where it can ship to, but there is a limited number of, I think about 400.
400 per language.
Per language, yes. So you can check out the campaign there if you're interested. And if you have any questions, please let us know in the comments down below.
Yes, please let us know if you have any questions about the gameplay or the expansion, anything that you saw in the video today, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.
Thank you all so much for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.